Hello, I'm Robert, and this is to help YouTube creators like myself who may be worried about your videos are going to be misclassified directly to kids because of this COPPA compliance thing. So, first of all, if you don't have any ads on your videos, then this just doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter what you call them, because it is only about videos that have ads on them. And a lot of people are panicking because they have had their videos classified as for kids and they know they're not. So don't worry about this because it's just a dumb algorithm. And an algorithm could classify this as a comic book, for instance. This is probably, or it could do, because that's an image that Google Images classifies as being a comic book. And let's have a look at a few more. Let's just see what am I doing? Look for a comic book on the page. There we are. So here's some other things classified. So to the dumb algorithm, it just looks at that and say, what else could you call that but a screwdriver? Obviously that's a screwdriver. And obviously that's an assault rifle. It couldn't be anything else. And that's a socket ball. Absolute confident identifying that's a socket ball. And that's a paddle. And who else could you call that? Could you call that by a strawberry? And so they're very confidently done. And that's a traffic light. That's clearly a ski mask. Because that's how the what you're dealing with. They don't think like human beings do. So they're based on neural nets, which is this idea that is inspired by the way our brains work. But they're clearly not really working like a human brain. They don't understand things like we do. And it just so happens that using some of the things that our brains do seems to help them to classify things correctly, but they only work correctly on things that humans upload and the images they've been trained on. If you train them on things that if you present them with things that they haven't been trained on, and you look for the simplest patterns that they'll identify, then they just don't classify things in the least bit like human beings do. And so this is what's happening here with these videos. So if you look at these channels, and a couple of channels who've been worried, this is one of them, VisiPop. And if you go and look at them, and it's absolutely, you can just tell right away really from the style and what it looks like and everything, this is not really meant for kids. This is using themes like fairy stories and things to create something for adults. And as soon as a human being looks at that channel, they will know that that is not for kids. And not for kids below, younger than, not for preteens. And this is another one. And if you go and look at them, and it's sort of unboxing and looking at ancient toys and things. But it's obviously done for humans, for adults. And again, even just one look at the channel itself and they'll know that they've made a mistake. But it's clearly no human being has been there, and this is actually, if I scroll down a bit, this was shown on that Chadtronic one. I saw this on one of his videos, and this showed that their neural net, whatever it is, that is serving up ads to advertisers, it serves up ads for kid toys on his videos. So I think they're basically just taking their neural net that they've already developed for advertisers, and the advertisers haven't complained on trying to sell toys for children. Indeed, you can understand on Chadtronic, for instance, that some of the adults that watch his channel, they might well go and buy kiddies' toys because it's for adults that are interested in kiddies' toys. That's what his channel is about. So it's maybe he's actually had some sales to ads for children, but they weren't children buying them. And so this is the problem with it for kiddies' toys, though, is that you have a shop now link, and if your channel is genuinely for children, then you should tell YouTube, and there could be significant consequences. We'll come to it if you lie to YouTube and you really are for children. But you're not going to lose all your advertising revenue, because after all, YouTube for Kiddies, that has advertisers on them. You will still get these ads, but you won't have the shop link. You'll still have the ad, and kids will still see a train and the name of it and so on, and the Hot Wheels or whatever it's called. They just won't have the shop now button. And that obviously reduces your revenue, but your old videos, they'll still be earning money, if less than before, and I suppose you have to do more videos if you're doing it, really are doing it for kids. So the problem is that a young kid could click through, and if you're responsible and you are doing it for kids, you won't want kids to do this anyway. If you know that your audience is mainly pre-teens, especially, or if a fair number of them, you don't want your kids to be going through, and maybe a child, it's a kid of a poor family, say, and then their family suddenly finds that this big expensive toy, it's a pound is worth a bit more than $1, so that's more than that in dollars. This big expensive toy has ended up on their doorstep, and they didn't buy it, and their kid did. You don't want that happening. So that's what's going to happen. You still have the ads, and they stop the comments on your videos if they really are for kids, because they don't want creepy people interacting with the young kids that are watching your videos. So again, you should really want that if you are a responsible person and it really is for young kids. And like it is, for instance, Teletubbies. If you're doing Teletubbies videos, you don't want if you're ethical, you want to be careful about what your children, the kids watching your videos, what happens. So then just the other part of this video, I want to talk about the fines. So that's the second half of this video. And so first of all, people are worried about what counts as being made for kids, and they have this list: children or children's characters, popular and play acting and stories, child protagonists and so on, popular children's songs. But they go on, if a creator attempts to avoid categorizing the content correctly, there may be consequences. And that's what worries people. But if you look at it a little bit more closely, then what made for kids mean? Then I'll go back to fines in a minute. So go back to actual COPPA law. Then it talks about in determining whether a website or online service is directed to children. Then it talks about having all this presence of of age models, child celebrities, and then it goes on about its visual content, use of animated characters. And people are worrying that it means all anime, for instance, might classify as being made for kids. But I mean, these people are sensible. Their aim is not to stop people from having ads on anime. They are concerned about the audience. They're not concerned about some strange ideas about reclassifying it. And they're concerned also only about if you know what your audience is. So if you make it directed for kids and it's on adult YouTube, and you know that kids go on adult YouTube, then you know that young kids are going to be attracted to it, and you're doing it directly for them. You're taking a language that is clear and simple for pre-teens. That is what they'll be looking for. It doesn't matter if the kid's watching it and you don't know, and it's an adult anime channel, then that can't come under this law at all. Or if they're watching with their parents or with friends who are older. And they explain in the preamble, although some commentators express concern that these additional factors might capture general audience sites, they believe it to be unfounded because they reiterate that these factors are some among many that they will consider. They're just examples, and that no single factor will predominate over another in this assessment. So they are not going to classify it as being for kids just because it is anime, just because it's got children's characters. They're going to look at the whole thing, and is it for kids? And it doesn't say anything about appeal to kids, which some people say. It does not mean that if you have Pokemon characters, it will count as one character that targets children just because they like the characters. Basically, they want a video, if it's a video that children are going to watch for hours on end, and it's directed for them, and it's spoken in the right kind of language, then it will be for kids. And then there's this bit where if you need to watch the whole thing in context about, might the FTC fine an individual channel owner, And this has been cut and pasted and made to seem something very different from what he's actually saying. He talks about how it's like shooting fish in a barrel, which is quite a scary image, contracators to the fish. But he's talking there about who could have strong penalties in future cases against content creators, as in channel owners, where a situation where the channel owner was specifically asked, "Are you child directed?" and channel owner said no. And when we see those facts, and it's clear from the context he's talking about a channel owner who knows that it's for kids. So if you had a channel that was said Teletubbies, and you were using Teletubbies kind of language, and then you said that it's not for kids, then obviously you're just lying to YouTube and to the FTC, and that's a situation in which they could impose these penalties of up to $42,000, which is indeed true. My earlier videos I hadn't realised that the FTC actually say this, and so yes, they do that, but it says, what happens if I mark my video's audience incorrectly? If you don't do it appropriately, you may be compliance laws. This is what they're talking about. But to put this in context, it's obviously FTC don't want to be going around YouTube taking cases out against individual channel owners. I mean, they'd be doing that forever if they're doing that. If you look at their list of cases, there are only 33 cases so far by the FTC, and they take a long time, and they are all against companies. It would surely have to be something very serious indeed, and very significant for them to go against an individual channel owner. So, I mean, he's basically, it's all kind of like veiled threats, but what they're really saying is, we really, really, really want YouTube channel owners to get behind us on this. It's only going to work with your cooperation. I think YouTube would have done it much better by just being more positive about it and saying, we are in this together. We are a responsible YouTube video channel owner doing content for kids, then you should want it to be like this. And if you're not doing it for kids, then you just tell us that it's not for kids. If it is for kids, tell us, and we need to get COPPA behind us and work together with the FTC, and we are all in this together. And if they'd said it more like that, in a more conclusive, positive way, it would have worked so much better. But instead, they're kind of trying to use kind of veiled threats to try and get people to comply. And actually, psychologists find that sort of approach doesn't work nearly so well. And it's just causing people to panic. It's not really helping. But there is absolutely no way that this is going to be classified as for kids, or this is going to be classified for kids. On the other hand, this sort of thing is obviously for kids. Teletubbies full episode. Then if Wild Brain was to classify Teletubbies full episode as not being for kids, then that would certainly have consequences. The worst really that would happen, that really it's not likely that they come after you and fine you. They most likely just stop ad revenue on your videos, and the very worst case would be that they shut down your video. I can't really, the FTC talk about shutting down the video and they talk about fining, but I can't see them going after. Anyway, certainly, if you do it correctly, and you just mark your videos correctly, you have nothing to worry about.